Hello internet friends and welcome to the video. Grab a blanket, turn down the lights, and of course have some food nearby because, well, why wouldn't you? Today we'll be talking all about some really creepy and eerie sounds. Some of these sounds have origins that can be explained, it doesn't make them any less creepy, and some remain a mystery, which obviously makes them more creepy. So if you have headphones and want to use them, that's totally up to you. I couldn't make it through the last one with headphones, so headphones at your own discretion. Here are 4 chilling and mysterious sounds. So space sounds horrifying to me. It actually plays to my personal fears of claustrophobia and agoraphobia, which is tight spaces and big spaces. Because the sheer immenseness that is space terrifies me, and the fact that there is literal nothing outside of my spacesuit would make me feel a little closed in. I know some kids, when I was in like kindergarten and stuff, wanted to be an astronaut. I was not that kid. I just wanted to be a Sailor Scout. They didn't need spacesuits in the stars. They just had kick-ass weapons and transformation sequences and superpowers. And I'm getting off track already. Now, you may or may not know, but in the vacuum of space, there is technically no sound, no atmosphere to carry the sound wave. There isn't even silence. There's just a lack of sound, which, again, horrifying. But apparently, as far as my unsciency dumb brain could understand, planets give off radio waves, didn't know that are measured in a similar way to sound, and there are radio and plasma wave science instruments that convert those radio waves into sounds. NASA's site literally called it a science instrument. They must have known I was reading. That's very sweet of them. They're like, we'll use the smaller words for this one. So back in April of 2002, the Cassini spacecraft is approaching the planet Saturn. And I say approaching, it was like 234 million miles away. But it starts to pick up these radio waves, which, if I was on that spaceship, I'd be freaking out. Like Saturn's got radio waves? Because to me, that sounds like alien shit, but this is totally normal. Maybe you all know this and I'm just an idiot. But this science instrument converts the radio waves into sound, and this is what Saturn sounds like if radio waves were sounds. That didn't make any sense. Just listen. That sounds like a symphony of lost screams in the vacuum of space. Or like I'm on the surface of Saturn. Actually, can you land on the surface of Saturn? Hold on. Nope. Not possible. It's just hot air. So I'm like on the surface of some barren planet, and there's something creeping up on me from out of the corner of my eye, and it's the lost souls of all of those who have lost their lives in the vastness of space. No thank you, Saturn. Jupiter also makes funny noises that come from... Hold on a second, I need help. Complex interactions of charged electromagnetic particles from the solar wind, planetary magnetosphere. Sorry. I just realized how stupid I am. Jupiter's sounds were picked up by the instrument on the Voyager spacecraft, so here's that little clip. In my opinion, that belongs as the background music for a Dead Space game, I'd say. And just for kicks and giggles, here's some more sounds that Jupiter makes. Headphone wearers, beware. It gets a little high-pitched. Thank you, space, for the sound of ear-piercing birds and an orchestra of small children tuning their violins. It's just so charming. Apparently the sun makes noises, the earth makes noises, and black holes make noises, which is crazy. You guys can look that up if you're interested, but apparently space just writes its own horror soundtrack, which doesn't surprise me. Space and its endless possibilities is, like I said before, horrifying. And just when you thought you'd escape the vacuum of space, someone launches you up there in a rocket and forgets about you as you drift away into the unknown. Or as you plummet back down to the earth. Your pick. And if you think that never happened, you may be wrong according to the next sound that you're going to hear. And though the authenticity of this one has come under a bit of skepticism, this one is probably the most disturbing on this list in a real-life sort of way. So back in the 1950s and the 1960s, during the Cold War, the Soviet Union and the United States are in a competition with one another to see who can get to space faster, the race to space. And cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin from the Soviet Union was the first man to successfully enter space and return home on August 12, 1961. So the Soviets beat America in the first milestone of the space exploration. There is a conspiracy theory, however, that suggests that the Soviets had several other cosmonauts enter space around the same time, as early as 1957, but that those unfortunate souls never made it back home. Hence the name for the conspiracy theory, the Lost Cosmonauts. Now in 1960, a year before Yuri's successful trip into space, two brothers named Achille and Giovanni Giudica Cordelia out of Turin, Italy, used scrap metal and set up an amateur listening station, hoping to tap into some of the very first satellite signals. And surprisingly enough, they were able to pick up transmissions from Sputnik 1, which was the first satellite launched into space by the Soviets. But they claimed to have captured audio that was much more disturbing than mere transmissions. And one of the many recordings they captured, three stand out as being particularly strange. So the first one is in 1960. They capture audio of an SOS in Morse code that starts off strong and gradually grows fainter and fainter as the signal drifts further and further away, then is lost completely out of range of the satellite. The second one occurred in 1961, just a few weeks before Yuri Gagarin's successful return from space. They caught what they thought sounded like someone having labored breathing before the sound peters out completely, and apparently an Italian cardiologist said that it sounded like someone suffocating to death. But the one that is most well known was captured in 1963, and allegedly what you're hearing is a female cosmonaut communicating with ground control as her spacecraft catches fire on re-entry. And again, fair warning, it's disturbing. Real or not, I would say that's pretty horrifying to listen to. And allegedly you can't hear ground control responding because they're using a different radio channel to communicate. But there's some other theories as to why this might not be legitimate. The cosmonaut doesn't identify themselves, which goes against communication protocol. She has numerous grammar mistakes and doesn't use proper terminology. Now personally, if I'm in space, burning up on re-entry, protocol and grammar be damned, especially if I'm panicking. There are several other reasons that people believe that this is a hoax, but mainly because none of the more advanced radio listening stations set up by the US, German, and French governments picked up any of these other transmissions. But on the other hand, if it's true, the Soviets obviously would not want this news floating around in the newspapers. Any bad press on the Soviets' part might discredit or at least lessen the triumph of their successes. And who in their right mind wants to come out and say, yeah, we made it to space? But they didn't make it back from space. Bad press equals failure in this case. And not only that, but as time has gone on, it's become abundantly clear that the Soviet Union has no problem sweeping some of the larger mistakes of their space program under the rug. For instance, the Nedelin catastrophe. Never heard of it? I hadn't either, but apparently in October of 1960, 150 people, many of them military personnel, were killed in an explosion on the launch pad of an R-16 ballistic missile. And in 1961, fighter pilot Valentin Bondarenko, I'm probably butchering that, fighter pilot burned to death during cosmonaut training, and neither incident was even acknowledged until the 1980s, 20 years later. But more buts. In 2001, a senior engineer on the Soviet space program named Mikhail Rudenko came forward, allegedly saying that the brothers' recordings were real, and even named the lost cosmonauts. Ledovsky is the first one, Shaborin, and Mitkov Lord forgive me my mispronunciations, but he named the 3 lost cosmonauts and said that all 3 had perished during their missions and that their names were never released. I think I've had enough of space today, wouldn't you say? So now I think it's time to come back down to Earth and dive into the second scariest place in the universe and the most terrifying place on Earth, the deep, deep depths of the ocean. Some of you are probably already aware of this, but if not, here's some fun number facts for you. The ocean covers more than 70% of the Earth's surface. Of that 70%, to date, we have explored approximately 5% of it, leaving 95% completely unknown. I just want to emphasize this for a second. 95% of 70% of this planet, we just have no fucking idea. Atlantis could be down there, Davy Jones could be down there chilling with Cthulhu, along with all the other horrifying sea creatures we have yet to lay eyes on. So let's rewind to the year 1997. And I just realized some of you watching this weren't even born yet. Anywho, 1997, everyone's just going about their business, completely unaware of a loud, low-frequency sound traveling through the southern Pacific Ocean. It's so loud that it gets picked up by underwater microphones that are 3,000 miles apart from one another, which is insane. The NOAA, or the National Ocean and Atmospheric Administration, captured the sound and released it to the public. And keep in mind, the sound you're about to hear is 16 times faster than the speed that it actually occurred at. Bloop? And that is what we shall call her, the bloop! No, seriously, they did. They called it the bloop. Now here's the sound played in actual time. That is much creepier, and it sounds nothing like a bloop. So here's the fun part. Everyone at the NOAA turns to each other and goes, "What the fuck was that?" So to try and figure that out, first they triangulated the recordings to find that the noise originated from this point in the ocean. That's South America over there to your right, and that's Relaya there on your left. Or Rilia, or Ryla, or however you say it. It's the sunken city in H.P. Lovecraft's story Cthulhu, and supposedly where he is imprisoned. Cthulhu, not H.P. Lovecraft. You know, Cthulhu with the blah, 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 blah. But if that's Cthulhu down there, making all that ruckus, I think that map sums up what waters I won't be venturing in, ever. So now they know where the sound came from, but what was it? Scientists who are out to ruin all the fun claim that the sound is consistent with the noise generated by ice quakes, which is apparently a thing. It's when icebergs fracture and break apart from larger icebergs. This particular one was thought to be breaking off of Antarctica. That's a pretty large piece of ice. But the fun part comes when speculation that the bloop is actually the result of a large, yet-to-be-discovered underwater creature that is bigger than a blue whale, which is the largest and the loudest known animal. How much bigger? This much bigger. Like Jurassic Park bigger. Like Leopleurodon bigger. A magical Leopleurodon. If you got that reference, you're probably as old as me. Or older. Sorry. But the NOAA has been firm in its conclusion that it is in fact the sound of ice quakes. One of their scientists named Robert Dziak said that the misconception that the bloop was ever an animal or organic in nature was due to the fact that the recording that was released played the sound back 16 times faster than it actually occurred, giving it that bloop sound. Slowed down, he said it sounds much more like thunder. Okay, I agree that it sounds like thunder slowed down. But I don't think slowing it down did anything to dispel the idea that it could come from a giant-ass creature hiding in the depths of the ocean. Because this sounds a lot more like an animal call than this. Bloop. Am I right? Or am I right? You know, sometimes you're just right. So was it a giant ice shelf breaking away from Antarctica, or Cthulhu's long-lost brother? Probably the former, though there are many out there who still believe that the sound is the result of an unknown creature and not any natural phenomenon. But either way, 1997 was the year for strange underwater sounds, as the NOAA also captured this gem. I hear some chanting in there. That's known as the slowdown, and they also caught this. Nope. They called that one the train, and just 2 years later in 1999 they captured this lovely piece, which they named Julia. Space and the sea are not the places for me. Sorry. Supposedly, this is the sound of icebergs dragging along the ocean floor. Damn, nature, you scary. But icebergs melting isn't any less scary. That shit fucks with the ocean, and in short, the ocean is not the place for me. For our final creepy sound, we're gonna go to imagination land here for a second, so bear with me. Now imagine you're driving along a road somewhere, just listening to some old-timey music in the dead of night, and you're the only one on this long, deserted road, and your headlights barely do anything to break apart the darkness around you. Are you comfortable yet? Good. Then all of a sudden, your charming music turns into this.
Son of John Senior Maryland, brother Captain Chris, at the Thunder Racing December 21st, 1988, Barry Valentino, son of Barry Senior Eugene, brother Scott, Mark, and Lisa Ann's friend, my friend. February 1985, Frank Oppenheimer, brother Robert, husband of Jackie Emily, father of Michael, our friend. In 1987, Henrietta Graham, mother of Ian and Ralph Sally, my friend. March 17, 1988, Edward McGellis, brother of William, Jim, May, and Peggy, father of Shirley, Allie, and
You're tuned to WKCR-FM New York, 89.9 on your dial. Colombian music is running a little late. It will be starting in a few minutes.
Headphone users, rest in peace. I'm still alive because I couldn't get through that entire recording wearing headphones. I got too freaked out. And I don't get freaked out when I research for these videos. I think you guys think I do, but hardly ever does that happen. I get sad, I get grossed out, I lose faith in humanity. Rarely do I get creeped out. This, supposedly, is what a teenager heard pouring out of his radio one night in either 1994 or 95 from Columbia University's station WKCR 89.9 in New York. This is all according to a forum post, of course, and the poster said that he was staying up late listening to his radio on his boombox, which had a tape recorder in it, and he often would hit the record button if he liked what he was listening to. And on this particular night, this is what he got. Now, exactly what are we hearing? First, there's that lovely squealing sound that just scared the absolute bejesus out of me the first time I heard it. Then you hear what sounds like breathing from the great beyond, or maybe it's just some static. But the most disturbing part, to me, is the chanting of women reading off dates and names. If you listen closely enough, you'll realize that not only are they names and dates, but they're names and dates of people who have died. She's reading off obituaries.
1988, Barry Valentino, son of Barry Senior Eugene, brother Scott, Mark, and Lisa Ann's friend, my friend.
Now, did you hear the name Barry Valentino? She says December 21st, 1988, Barry Valentino, and she goes on to list some of his relatives. There's a Barry Valentino on findagrave.com who was killed in a terrorist bombing of a flight over Scotland on December 21st, 1988. She also says the name Frank Oppenheimer, February 3rd, 1985, and would you look at that, particle physicist who died on February 3rd, 1985. Now, I didn't hear this one, but some claim to hear the name J. Robert Oppenheimer, who was also known as the father of the atomic bomb, you know, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. This guy helped develop the first nuclear bombs. His name and date and death are allegedly read off, though again, I didn't hear this one. Some other names I heard before I got too creeped out and had to stop listening were 1988 Edward McEllis, 1987 Henry LeBrand, and 1988 Morgan Tunick. I couldn't find anything on those people, or I misheard it, so feel free to listen yourself, and I'd love to hear if you guys can find any of the other names on Find a Grave or anywhere else in the comments down below. Now, I was asking, is this legit? Because it just sounds a little too... It sounds a little too much like it hopped straight out of a creepypasta, you know? Not anyone in particular, but like it could be one. It was posted anonymously, so no lead to go with that there, big surprise. And the ghost breathing sounds a little too well timed and orchestrated if you ask me. If it is a hoax, congratulations, you succeeded in scaring the absolute crap out of at least one person. Those who think it wasn't a hoax think the poster somehow tuned into a number station, which is basically what spies used to communicate through code during the World Wars, and some speculate into the present day. The more you know. And we've reached the end of the video! What is with my arms today? You guys think they're moving a lot? I think they're moving a lot. Congrats, you guys made it all the way through. You survived some eerie and bone-chilling sounds, so thanks for watching. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It helps me out a lot. And if you want to see more videos from me, you can hit the subscribe button down below. And my teleprompter has refused to move for the last few lines, so now I'm just going impromptu. This is what happens. Subscribe down below, where you'll also find links to my social media. There we go, now it's moving. And sources for the video where you can listen to all of these creepy sounds in full for yourself. Have fun, my friends, exploring the creepiest corners of the internet. I'm gonna go hide under a blanket with some chocolate and have some fun there. That sounded weird. Thanks again for watching. Stay safe and have a good night. You know? Oh God, it's hot in here. I have to turn off the AC when I record because if I don't, you hear in the background the whole fucking time. You're welcome. I've been trying to like sit up straight in my videos because like it's like I look and every time I sit up straight, if you watch in the videos, fun fact, every time I sit up straight, I don't know why, I do this with my hands. It's like I'm cupping two giant boobs that aren't there, you know, or two giant balls, what have you. I don't know why I do that. I try to sit up straight and then my hands go. Why? God, these transitions are awkward. And I'm hungry. Later. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. Baby.